Hello everybody, Beth's Golden here. I am coming at you today with a tutorial on how to make a fabulous little ATC. It's a Finnabair technique and we're going to make a steampunk one today. This is the one that I actually made for a swap. The name of the swap is Altered Playing Card. The theme is Steampunk and Hollywood. This is the one I did for the steampunk, and then I'll just show you the one for Hollywood real quick, even though that's not what this is about, and this is my Hollywood one. And I used some Brutus Monroe surface ink on the card to help it all flow together and match. But that's not what we're doing today, but I might as well show you since it's part of the same swap, right? This is what we're doing, and I honestly have not done a tutorial on the Finnabair technique. I'm probably not even saying that right. The reason why I haven't done a tutorial on this yet is because it's something that I learned through someone else last October 2016, at a retreat. I have done several different projects with it. I absolutely love it. It's really easy to do. It can be time consuming because you have to have things dry, but it makes one heck of a statement. And the fun thing is you get to make it with things that you have on hand. So we're going to put together a card that's similar in this nature. Not quite the same thing because I can't reproduce art, and I also am not going with an Alice in Wonderland theme. I'm definitely going to go more with a steampunk theme because this technique that we're going to do lends itself so well to this. Stay tuned because at the end of the video I also am going to show you two other projects that I have done with this technique. And one of them I still actually have available for purchase if anyone is interested in that, and it was featured on the Beacon blog. So with that being said, let's go ahead and just get started. The first thing that you're going to need for this is actually a playing card. I like the playing cards for this technique because this is heavy. I used a lot of metal. You don't have to use a lot of metal, but I did on this particular card. So I prefer the playing card because it is more durable and sturdy than a cardstock. And I already went ahead and inked it. Now, inking this you might think can be really tricky, but as you can see, it's not because I used the detail ink by Brutus Monroe, the Raven. This is alcohol mark safe and waterproof when dry. When you do this on a regular piece of paper, when you use this ink, it dries relatively quickly. I did have to take a heat gun to this, but it is not coming up. I mean, my hands are not, they're not dirty at all. So it's a really great ink to use on all surfaces. I love their surface ink. This one I use now for predominantly everything. So I wanted to grunge up this card, and I just placed the ink down on this. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start to lay out my design. I am using a digital collage sheet from Calico Collage. It's actually these, I think they're 1.5 inch circles. A lot of people look at the circles and they think, oh, that's just your bottle caps and that's really one note. Well, I'm here to tell you there's a lot you can do with these circles. So as you can see, I've already used some of them. I've cut out the ones I'm using today and cut out the ones I used on this little card right here. But these can be used for a multitude of things, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this today. But I don't get them trimmed down and cut out until I need them. The reason is because it's time consuming to cut them all out, and they tend to stay in better shape if I leave them like this and just take my circle cutter around and cut them at that point. So these are by Calico Collage. The quality on this is phenomenal. I won't use any other digital downloads because, as you can see, her quality is fantastic. So I love it. I have not seen anything better. And I can't wait to play with that one. That's what caught my eye originally. So anyway, moving on. I chose 3 that we're going to use on this project. The 3 I chose all remind me of steampunk related and that is this little gear clock, this metal corset, and then just this fun clock. So I'm going to first ink the edges, and I'm actually going to use some Distress Crackle paint on one of them, only one, because I'm going to need to trim down two of these because I'm going to offset them on the card. I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. First, I have to lay everything out, and then you'll see why. I don't want to crackle paint all of it. I want one piece to pop, and so I'm going to crackle paint that. But I'm just right now going over and distressing the edges of these because I have some white in some areas. I want to hide that. Plus it just gives it more of that grungy look that I'm going for. So again, Brutus Monroe Detail Ink. I'll have a link for you where you can find that. Check it out. It's amazing. You'll love it. You won't want to use any other ink. In fact, I'm replacing all of my Stazon and, you know, Memento or whatever it's called with this stuff. It's so fantastic. The surface ink and the detail ink. All right, so the piece that I'm going to use crackle paint on, and crackle paint will give this type of technique right here to Alice. That's what I did to her. And I did use the same digital download sheet on this one as well as two other ones. A Drink Me bottle Alice in Wonderland one with that, and then this saying is from an Alice in Wonderland digital sheet as well. But with this I did use crackle paint. I'm going to show you how to apply that and what to do in just a moment. But before I do that, I need to lay this out so I can get a feel for how this is all going to work. So I'm going to put these down like so, and then this one. So I wanted to go off the edge because I really want to be able to see that steampunk. I'm going to trim that up after I adhere it. And this, all you're going to do, now this is going to look weird as I lay it out, but all you're going to do with this is use your scraps. You do not want to go out and buy things for this because it will be so expensive. You really want to just use your little scraps. That's really what you are going to want to use on this. Otherwise, it just is expensive, and we don't want to do that. So I'm just laying it out, and you know, I even have like some Christmas one and some other things. So I'm going to go ahead, and I kind of have an idea what I want to do now with it. So I'm going to set this aside and set this aside and let me distress, because this is going to have to set up. I want to distress this with some crackle paint. I am using clear rock candy. It's Tim Holtz. It's the Ranger. I've been using this for years. Really like it. How you do this is you apply a very, very good coat, but you don't go over it a ton of times. You only go over it once. And what it will do, I say that and then I went over it twice to make sure I got good coverage. You really shouldn't do what I did, but it'll work. What this will do is as it dries, it'll start to crack. You can use a heating gun a little bit. I don't like to. I think it kind of messes it up. So I'm just going to leave it, and I'm going to let it dry overnight. Again, this is the Distress Crackle Paint. So I'm doing this video in two segments, one at night and one in the morning. So let me go ahead and just rotate my craft mat. My fingers are all dirty because I touched the crackle paint, which is really sticky. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to lay down my pieces. All right, and I know this looks really weird, like you're thinking, what is she doing? But I promise it's going to make sense. We're going to put black gesso all over it, so you're not going to be able to really tell what was what color was what. So that's cool. And I have here snowflakes, which are Christmas. So it doesn't really matter the season, because I'm also going to do something after I put this all down that will help disguise some of that. So I'm first just going to put down this bird, and I'm going to lay it down upside down. Well, like this. Things don't have to go in the same direction. And it's really important that I put my flat objects down first, and then I put the ones that maybe have a little bit more dimension and texture and bumps and things down on top of those or last. So now if you were to go out and buy all of these little metal pieces separately, you would spend buku bucks. So always, always, always use your leftovers when you're doing this type of technique. And it doesn't have to be metal. It doesn't have to be wood. It can be whatever you want it to be. I'm going to put some buttons down. I've seen people use primas, like fabric-y primas. I've seen individuals use plastic, those really tacky plastic little flowers that are really colorful. If you're into those, I am so sorry if I just offended you. That was not my intention. I don't know what to do with them that makes them look good. So for me, they always look tacky. So I've seen those, and that's cool because you can heat it up with a heat gun, and it'll bend and stuff, and then you can just apply the black gesso on top of that and then dry brush. And I'm going to show you all of that. I'm going to show it all to you. So I really like this unicorn. I've had a ton of these unicorns, so we're just going to use that there. And if you want to have certain pieces pop where you can make out what they are at the end of this, you're going to apply those on the very top layer. And you can build and build and build this as long as you want to. Mine, you're going to see, I really go crazy with it. Like, I build the heck out of my ones that you're going to see the pictures at the end of this, especially my box. But I wanted on the box something to stand out, which was the butterfly, and it did. And on my canvas piece that I did, I really wanted to go crazy on the hair. And so you can definitely tell that I used a whole bunch of circular items on that to make it kind of go nutso. And it looks cool. And really, what I used on that one, I just found, I did buy separate things for that because it was for a design team project for Beacon, and I wanted it to be, I wanted a certain look. So, and the items that I used were cheap. They were plastic beads that even had holes in them so you could string them up. I think I spent $1.99 on the beads. But then I also put in some gears that were a little bit more pricey and things like that. My gesso, I used a ton of black gesso on that. That's the one thing with this that I go through a lot, is I go through a lot of black gesso on this. If you're noticing, I'm kind of leaving that corner clear for the steampunk clocks I'm going to use. Then I'm going to put on this little cute, this little teapot would have been really cute on my other one, but I didn't see it. Whoopsie. And then I am going to throw on some gears that I have because I want these to pop. But I'm going to see if I have any in here. Oh, like this one has some nice texture on it. So I'm going to use that one. And that one will be cool. And that one. So let me start with those. Actually, that I don't like that one. It's too big. Too big. But anyway, the Steampunk canvas I made at the end, that's a face and this really crazy cool hair. That one took me 2 days to finally finish. So there was a lot of time and a lot of love put into that one. And it's probably why I still have it, is I want to find a home for it in which someone will really appreciate all that work I went to on it, you know? So, yeah, we'll do that. And I'm just using Beacon 3-in-1 to adhere it. I'm not really concerned that I have glue dots in some places, because I'm going to do something in a minute with that. I think I need 2 more gears. I like that one. And I like this one. And this project, when I'm done, is going to go up for trade. So I'd like to trade it with someone else for one of their ATC cards. It's lots of fun to do that, because you can get a lot of fun artist work, and it's easy to store it in a little binder, baseball card sleeves, and it's just so much fun. Now I'm going to do this one, even though it's the same one, different color, but we don't care about color on this. I'm throwing this over like here. Oops, getting my fingers all dirty, but that's okay. Now I need to go ahead and I have these micro beads. So I have everything laid out that I want to put on it. I think that's all I want. Okay. I'm not going to lift it up because it's wet. I have these glass beads. I hate these glass beads. I'll be honest with you. I am not a glass bead fan. They're kind of cute in shakers when I make shakers, but I have so much of them that I'm never going to make enough shakers. But they look great on this. I never buy these for myself. They always come in kits. So this is going to be, it's going to be cool. That is what, see, I used them here too. Can you see them? Yeah. So they fill in they fill in the holes kind of, and they really make it look grungy. It's awesome. So I'm just going to take my Beacon 3-in-1, and I'm just going to kind of go over in the spots. Can you see that? Sorry. Oh, shoot. I went over don't want to do that. Okay. Can you see it there? So I'm just taking my Beacon and I'm just laying it down. And what this does is this is going to allow the beads to adhere to the adhesive. And it also really gives a nice extra security that this stuff is down, because it's not all even. We're not all, it's not all flat. There's some different depth and height to this, and that can sometimes be challenging to make sure it's adhered. So I want to make sure that everything is really, really down well. And this is going to allow that to happen, because I'm going to put the micro beads on, and I'm going to kind of push it in with a brush, which will make sure everything is really stuck in good. And then I'm going to let it dry. I'm not going to just dump it off and go. I'm going to let it really set up nice. Okay, so I'm feeling good about that. I think I have enough laid down there. I can lift this up and show you real quick. See how much glue I have on that? All right, so here we go. I'm just gonna dump, and whatever I don't use, I'm using it right here in this nice little, I don't know what it's called, catcher. A lot of people use it for embossing, and I'm just dumping, and then I can leave it sit here, let it dry, and put the rest back. Use a little knob and put it back in here so I didn't waste anything, you know. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of push it all down. I really want to make sure that this adheres and that this is all solidified and in here good. This needs to be stable. So I'm just going over like this. This project can be time consuming or it can be fast. It depends on how you craft and what you're going for. I tend to slow myself down with this and really take my time. Like, I thoroughly love this process. I get so much fun. I don't know. It's so relaxing. When I first did it at the retreat, I think I was one of the first people down at the table and one of the last people up. I think it took me 5 or 6 hours to do my box. And you'll see that at the end of this. So I really take my time. Some people can get through it pretty quick. If you are fast, definitely allow yourself some time to let it dry. You don't want to speed that process up by any means. Because if it doesn't dry, your gesso goes on wrong. And then if you don't let your gesso set up properly, your dry brushing doesn't work and it's ruined. Well, you can probably fix it, but why do that? Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to let this sit overnight and really dry, get it nice and dry. And then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish up the project. Okay, so everything should be dry. It's not quite the next morning. I'm having kind of a late night, so I figured I'd go ahead and take a look at it now. But first of all, I wanted to show you the cute little corset. It has the crackle paint on it and it is dry. I'm going to go ahead and lightly ink the top of this to make that crackle paint really pop. I'm actually going to use my Distress ink by Tim Holtz, the Vintage Photo, because I don't want it to cover up the image. I just want to make it pop a little bit so you can really see the cracks in this and that extra dimension. So I think I like it. I'm actually gonna take and go ahead and put a little bit of water on that. Just to distress it somewhat. And kind of want to pick up some of the areas. And I think that that's good. All right, so anyways, you can see the crackle paint, all the cracks and whatnot on it. It's kind of cool that you can't quite make it out. I like it. It's the whole point of steampunk, right? Okay, so the next thing we need to do is take a look at this. And I'm really going to go ahead and just tap off the excess of this. Really important that I get all those little beads that aren't attached off. So I kind of go over it and I rub it. Sometimes it'll even loosen up the ones that are nicely attached, or are slightly attached, I should say, not nicely, or else they're not going to come up. And I even pull some off in areas that I don't want them there. But anyway, yeah, kind of want my gears to show a little bit, so just want to make sure. Really tapping. I use that Brutus Monroe detailing on the back too for my information. Love it. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and just try to make sure that it all has to be able to fit into a sleeve. So always check your back. Check your backside too, ladies. That's important. That always needs to look good. Yes, I did just say that. It's late. I can kind of do that. Okay, so I really want to make sure I've gotten it all. Okay, so now we're good. I'm going to go ahead and pour this back into my little container. This is a really great use of those mixed beads that we all have so many of that I don't think very many people like. They're fun for shakers, but man, I think I've made like 10 shaker cards with this and a couple steampunk projects, and I still have quite a bit of the product left. Okay, so now's the fun part. And this is going to get really ugly, and you're going to be like, oh my god, that is so nasty. This is a part of the process. And I have to psych myself up as I do this, because I know that it's going to be ugly. So that's just how it has to go right now until I can dry brush it with the copper. But we need to put on the black gesso. We need to just layer this on. I have to tell you, finding black gesso for me is really challenging. This company has it, and I just ordered some more by Dina through Ranger. I got hers. This black gesso actually is old, and I didn't keep the little paper that comes attached with new product like I should have, so it's almost dried out. So as soon as I get my new stuff, I'm tossing this because it really shouldn't be that thick. But this will work for now. And I'm just going to take my brush, and I need to make sure that I cover everything in black gesso. Now, something that's going to happen with this, if you use these little beads, or when I first started doing this process, I actually used sand, you will start to pick up the beads on the brush. That's totally okay. You're just gonna rinse it off, dry your brush, and go back in. The most important thing about this technique right now is that you get everything entirely black. You don't want any of that metal showing through or any of that color on your leftovers showing through. You need it all black. So you're going to have to pick it up and check it out from a different angle and whatnot. This can be kind of time consuming, and that's okay. It's just a nice little process. So, and I like doing this tutorial for you because the canvas is so small that, yeah, it's taking me a little bit of time to get it done, but it's not like I'm showing you how to do it on a big canvas or on a box, you know. So, But you can do this on so many different things. You can make a canvas piece out of it. See how I have little beads on it? That's totally fine. You can make a canvas out of it. You can do it in your scrapbook. You can do it on cards. You can make a box, you know, to give. This is something great that you can do with your kids too. Like, let's say that you go camping with your kids and you need an activity to do. Go out into the woods or wherever you are and pick up rocks and pine cones and different types of leaves and odd flowers and foliage, things like that. Before you leave to go camping, go to your craft store and pick up some couple boxes that you can, you know, the paper mache type boxes. Pick up some of those. Buy some of your gesso. Take your beacon on your trip with you. So you would have to bring this with you. Won't be much if this is all you're taking. And then have the kids go out and pick up things in nature. And then when they come back, have them do this to the top of the box. It's a fun process. You'll even love it. You'll probably be able to get the adults in on it. And it'll be so cool when you're done. And they'll have this really great memento of their camping trip. And it kept them busy. And it inspired them. And it's unique. And it's going to look really cool when it's done. So that's something that I want to do with my kids. I think that they would really dig on it and really enjoy it. So I'm going to go in. This is looking pretty good. I'm not so worried about getting this because this is going to be covered up by my clocks and things. But I do need to make sure that I get all of this in. That piece right there really wants to go back gold. So as you can see, it looks disgusting right now. I would pick it up and show you, but I can't because it's totally soaked. So this I am going to let dry. You can take a heat gun to this and speed up the process. You really can. If I was doing this during the day and not right before I go to bed, that's exactly what I would do. But since I'm going to head off to bed, I'm going to let it dry overnight, and then we are going to finish off this portion of it by applying a dry brush technique of this. This is my look at my hands, they're so dirty. My very, very favorite paint for this. I love it. It's by Prima, and I love this color. I have tried to do this technique white and then dry brush over like a really pretty pearly blush type pink over it. Didn't like it as much. I tried to dry brush over silver on it, on white. Didn't like it as much. Silver on black was nice, but something about this steampunk copper is totally perfect for steampunk. And there it is right in the title. So this is by Prima. It doesn't take much. I think I have had this since October because it did come with my original class at the retreat, which I learned how to do this. Make sure you keep this. This will keep your paint nice and fresh. And that's how much I have left. And I've used it quite a bit for this technique. So I'm going to show you how to dry brush. The technique on dry brushing this is crucial. It's important. If you put too much paint on your brush, it will not have the same effect. But we're going to go over that after this is all ready and dry. And then I'll show you how to finish off this portion of it. All right. Okay, so our card has been sitting overnight. It's completely dry, and believe it or not, this is exactly where it should be and how it should look. I know that it looks like a big pile of yuckiness right now, kind of like tar, but the magic is about to happen, and I'm going to tell you about this magic and how to do it. It's relatively easy, but there's a technique, a few things you have to keep in mind, in order to do this. First of all, I like to use this metallic paint, the Steampunk Copper by Prima, does the Finnabair Artology. Art Alchemy. I can't even talk. So we're going to use this. The other thing you want to use is you want to use a softer bristle brush. I like to use a thicker pouncy, type brush to put my black gesso down. That helps it gets into the crevices, but with this you don't. The secret to this is we're going to use almost a dry brush. It's called dry brush technique. And we're going to use a really, really, really light hand. If you mess up and use too much paint or use too heavy of a hand, all you got to do is dry it, black gesso it again, and do it over. But it's better in the long run, it'll save you time, to use a light hand. And if you go in too light, then just go back over it again and keep covering it and covering it. It's better to do it that way than it is to use too heavy of a hand or too much paint. So in order to ensure that you don't get too much paint on your brush, I'm going to show you what to do with that. Now, always keep these. I've told you that tons of times. Always keep these because it seals in your product so it doesn't dry out. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to dip your brush, the tip, just like that, on your craft mat. You're going to wipe off almost everything, so you have hardly anything left on it, and your brush is about like this. And then we are going to lightly go over, and this is where the magic happens. I'm applying just an ever so light touch to this. And what this does is it causes all of the textures to just be brought out on this. So now it doesn't look like crap anymore. And you can't even tell that I had used Christmas stuff in here, can you? So I'll give you a better look. I didn't lift it up because I kind of wanted it sealed as I do this. So this is pretty good coverage for this particular project. I don't really want to do much more. Sometimes I have to go in and do it 2 or 3 times, but this is looking pretty good. So just hit the spots that you need to hit again, and just real light touch. Doesn't take much. Now it doesn't look like caca anymore. So we're going to go ahead, and that's done. That portion of it's done. That is the most fun part of the whole process, and it also is the fastest usually. So let me go ahead and lift this up off of this craft mat. And show you closer what this is going to look like. We're going to clean up the edges a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my last element to it, which are the beautiful steampunk, and it's almost dry, which is nice. So just gonna pull off this gesso. I kind of like it all to dry together on the cardstock, on the craft mat, because it holds its shape. It doesn't like run around on me as I'm trying to paint it. Sometimes if you do this technique on paper, it can move and shift and just be a big old pain in the bahootie. So I don't like to do that. So I'm just trimming up the edges. This is going to be available to trade today. Okay, so here it is. This is that steampunk technique. Really easy to do, not hard at all. Things you have to keep in mind are make sure you use the right bristle on your brush, which is more of a soft to medium. And make sure you do a good coverage of black gesso and use a light hand dry brushing on the top, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and just finish up. I have to see where my upside is on this. We're going to go ahead and just finish this up now. And I'm going to add these. And like I had said, I don't like to add them until the very end, just because I'm not quite sure how the placement is gonna go. This is one of those projects that you can't be too much of a perfectionist with, which is hard for me to say because I am one, because it's not going to go exactly as you expect it to go, because you have so many variables that are just different. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put that right there. And I'm just using beacon to adhere this. I could adhere it with my tape runner, but since I'm going to be trading it, I want to make sure that it is nice and adhered, nice and firm. Okay, and then right, there's this. I'm actually going to put that up like that. And then for this one, the one that we crackle painted and distressed on, I'm thinking of doing some pop dots on it. First, let me go ahead and trim the edges off of this, because I wanted these clocks just to hang off the edges of this card. And the back of your card is not going to be pretty. You could, I may actually go through and do another 2.5 by 3.5 backing on this and replace it so it's not so icky. I really just wanted the card, the playing card, because of it's so stable. It's not flimsy. It's sturdy. And then I think I'm just going to put that right there. And I'm not going to pop dot it. It looks like it can, looks like it'll be okay without having it pop dotted. I think the pop dot would actually make it less sturdy. So we're not going to do that. I'm just going to give a very, very good covering of beacon right now. So I like Beacon 3-in-1 for this because it holds all my little Duma Flunkies down nicely, and it can use the paper, so it is good for this. There are some knockoff brands that I actually bought for next time. This is like $6.99, $7.99. Knockoff brand is $2.99. So I'm going through so much beacon lately that I really have to find a more economical way. Okay, have to find. And I'm just gonna put that right there. Okay, so just get that nice and there. It's okay for me to pick it up for you now. So here it is. This is the Steampunk ATC card using that technique. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will answer them. Please make sure you give this a thumbs up, share it with all your crafty friends, and if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. I have a lot of fun stuff that I like to share on my channel, and I would love for you to watch it and join in. Until next time, happy crafting!